welcome. Today we are going to be answering, or you will be talking about how to safeguard our children on the internet. So I'm just going to share the question briefly, and then I will take it off so that you can begin your presentation. So there it is. How can we safeguard children on the internet? I believe this is a question that most people have had, parents or people that have young children around them. This is a burning question we keep asking when we hear all of the things that are happening on the internet. So take it away, Ms. Kanem.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
As always, I thank you for re-inviting me. It's a great honor to be here. First of all, I give honor to God, who has made it possible to bring us all back together after a year. And also I give thanks to the man of the house, who, in calling me forward, is doing the best for his flock. In order to be a pastor, a shepherd, you need to have a flock, and so you need to look after them. So thank you so much for having me here. Now, as always, you will know that when I do my sessions, it's very much an interactive thing. So I ask questions because I'm not coming here to give you anything that you actually don't own. So it's just a matter of bringing it out and placing it within its sphere. So I am going to ask you many questions. So what do we do about the internet and our children and their access to it? We need to look at questions like, how do we give them access? What age can they have access? How do they go about using the internet for what they need to do? How do we safeguard them? How do we stop others accessing them on the internet? And these are big questions with really simple answers to a certain extent. So let me ask you first, all of you. First of all, let me make a very slight introduction. I am from an organization called Africa. As you can see, it's behind me. And I'm one of the champions, a lead champion, as I try and get others on board. Today, we will be talking about internet safety. But as you know, I usually talk about a lot of subjects. And I'm just going to go through them for you, just so that you know. And so that if you're wanting these, you can come back through your pastor. We talk about internet safety. We talk about county lines and drug trafficking. And I will introduce a little bit of that in the discussion we're having today. Leaving children home alone, domestic abuse, child chastisement, and child sexual abuse, which I covered the last time, but I said that there is so much more. In the time that we have, we can't cover it all. But these are all the subjects that fall in line with what we call child abuse within this country, or safeguarding issues that need to be dealt with. So today, as we look at safeguarding on the internet, I ask you, what do you all do with your phones? It's an open session. Very quickly, what do you do with your phones? And how savvy are you about using the phone, the internet? How well do you know it? What are the age limits to children accessing the internet and having a phone? Does anybody know? Please feel free to answer me if you're able to come on board and speak. And what types of harm do you need to be aware of on the internet? What is it that you're all afraid of? That's you're here today. Because when we're asking that question, it's because there's a fear, there's an apprehension in us. What is that? What have we heard? I just want to...
So for me, let me start off by answering some of the questions. Personally, I think my main concern is about grooming children online. You understand? So I think that's the main concern I have, and also about wrong ideologies. Because there are so many anti-Christian ideologies, in my opinion, out there. Because children are quite impressionable at the age where they are, especially if the person who is speaking is deemed to be a celebrity or somebody who is an influencer, right? They seem to take, I mean, from my experience anyway, from what I've seen, like my children, like they seem to take, oh, that guy said it, like the influencer, because the person is known, has got a lot of followers on YouTube or whatever. So the guy's an authority. So he's speaking crap, So for me, I think it's about making sure that the children are not, kind of like taught the wrong ideology, the grooming aspect as well. So I will talk about what I do later in terms of what I do with my children. But I think for me that's a concern. The primary concern is about that. Because from understanding psychology, I understand that if a child is taught wrong from a young age, it becomes very, very difficult as a child grows up to change. So it's the children are actually very delicate.
Yeah.
That we have to make sure that we don't drop the ball.
Absolutely. And by trying not to drop the ball, we're doing the right thing here, which is first training ourselves. So this is why I was saying, what do you use your phone for? Most of you would say, I use it to make a call, I use it to send texts, I use it to watch videos, I use it to access my friends, or even to look online for information. How savvy are you with your phone? A lot of people will say, well, I just use it to do these things, but you don't really know anything about it. So when you look at it this way, what is it that you can teach your children about the phone? When you're given a car, the tendency is that somebody will sit beside you and teach you how to drive that car to get you from A to B. They will teach you the mechanics. Nowadays, although we had the book in the days when I started to learn to drive, we didn't have to go online and do a test. Many of the people nowadays who are giving phones to their children at an early age are actually giving it to them during the school holidays so that they can actually monitor how the children are using the phone, teach them, check through what they're doing, and kind of lead them into that time when the phone will be fully theirs to be going to school with. So these are one of the kind of things that you could do. What are we afraid of on the internet? The things that we are afraid of is very true, what you've just said there, grooming. And in effect, when you're saying about them receiving strange ideology, what you're talking about is radicalism. And in a sense, this radicalism doesn't only have to deal with belief and religious belief at that. It could be anything, any subject matter. A child could just get fixated on a certain person's view of things, and that is how they see it. The negative things that happen online, like bullying, sexting, going into chat rooms, gaming. I mean, those are supposed to be safe things. Like gaming should be very safe, but people are using it as a means of accessing your children. Street violence is as well. I put into this category, and road accidents. Why have I mentioned that? I mentioned that because a lot of children, once they get the phone, their eyes and ears see nothing. They're walking along the road and they're on their phones. And as you know, road accidents are one of the highest ways in which our children are killed, maimed, damaged. And I put it in those categories of what impact having a phone can do. So these are the things that you need to talk to your children about. We hardly mention that, but it's very true. I drive along the road and at times I see parents with the phone in their hand like this, and they're walking along and the child is 2 miles behind. So this is why I ask the question, what do you do with your phone? A child copies you. A child sees what you're doing. So you need to use your phone in exactly the same way as you want your child to use it. So when it goes home, it gets put down. You don't answer every call when you're eating. You gather your children to eat with you. You set certain standards and boundaries within your home to make the phone rather something that you use to facilitate things rather than something that you live with constantly in front of you. Even the positioning of your neck or your child's neck, if I go sideways, we're always like this, down at our phone. This position is not the best. We're supposed to be sitting more upright. So these are things that you have to consider, even to your health issues of your child, even to sleeping. It disturbs every part of a child's life. And so we need to be very, very much aware of this. It's also something that they get mugged for. So the best thing to do is to give them the simplest phone that you can give to your child so that they're not going to get mugged. They may be, bullied at school slightly because they have a phone that is not great, but it's better that they're not mugged. After all, the reason that a lot of parents give their children a phone is to enable them to be able to access them and to know where they are and to call them for help. You need to have rules. You need to have an etiquette, of how a phone should be used. How do you talk on a phone? Where do you talk on a phone? Where do you keep it when you're not using it? All these things, boundaries. And these boundaries are that when you're at school, the schools normally have boundaries where they've said, no phones at school. They've got to be handed in. They're put into special lockers in some schools. I haven't checked recently to know what happens at that point, but I know many of you who have children will know. But then also in your home, you can have a rule that, after you've done your homework on the phone, because a lot of people are required to do so, the phone gets put into this basket at 8 o'clock, and there's no more phone for the rest of the day or the night. And they go to bed whatever time they go to bed. They do not go to bed in their with a phone in their room. They do not go into their rooms with a phone. If they're using the phone, then they need to be in the sitting room or where you all are, your main room, where you as an adult are, so that if there's something going wrong, you can see it, you can sense it. And that is just so important, because in the old days when we used to sort of teach this course, we would normally say that, because normally people couldn't afford to have a computer, so there was only one in the house. And so we would say to all parents, have that computer in the main room where everybody could see what's happening. But now that the computer's changed to this size, everybody can carry it around. Titi, I see your hand up. Did you want to ask a question, Titi?
I did. Sorry about that. I was trying to find the unmute button. Thank you so much for coming to have this discussion with us. I have a quick question about the whole thing about restricting the phone and putting the phone down when it gets 8 o'clock and so on and so forth. What age would you say you can enforce those rules up until? What age?
I think that I would put at an age of responsibility. You know your child. You know when they can cope with certain things, or you should know when they can cope with certain things, and you can change those rules accordingly. And it depends on if they need the phone. By 16, 17, you would think that they're more responsible. They're going into adulthood, so they should be able to handle having the phone, I would think. But your situation, because it's very much like there's a question that people ask about, leaving children home alone. And I ask the question, what age? And people put various ages up. But tell me something, if your child is disabled and they're 16, 17, should they be left home alone? So it all depends on the circumstances. Does that answer your question?
It does. And I have one more quick one as well.
Yes.
So you can have rules in place about what they can see on their own phone, but they also go to school and they're shown content on their friend's phone who might not have the same restrictions. How do you handle that?
The thing about that is that, to be honest with you, there's very little you can do about that because you're not there. And the rules that each parent puts on their child and what that child determines it's going to do are very different. But I think what you need to do is to have that conversation with your child, where you're teaching your child your standards in the house. But this should have started from way back. But if you haven't started that from way back, any time is a good time. We have a saying that says, anytime you wake up, that's your morning. So you need to talk to your child. I think one of the things that I found with our Black parents is that we are very good at telling a child, you must not, you will not, you don't, is all I ever heard when I was growing up. But we're bringing up children who ask the question, why? And to be honest, before they even ask that, you should give them the reason. Because it's that stabilizes them, because they know, if I do this, this is the outcome. You need to start teaching them the rules. Like, for example, you as a parent cannot show pornographic things on a video or anything to anybody, talk less your children. So if they are doing that, you better tell them that they're breaking the law and your friend is breaking the law and they could become involved. Yeah? That kind of material, by passing it on. So in a sense, our children who are very young are being pushed into the adult world before they're even ready for it. So you're having to have conversations, which we call big people conversation, but their little minds. It's like when I came earlier on and I was talking about sex education, and you would have asked, when do we start? You start as soon as they know what the differences are, or they start asking certain questions, but you do it in an age appropriate manner.
There's actually, so I said one more before, but this is my last question.
No
so
problem.
I have adult problems, adult children. I said adult problems. I have adult children. And my worry is they spend too much time on social media.
But that is, hold on, your adult children or their children?
My adult children, they're in their 20s, early 20s. And I think they spend too much time on the social media. And I've tried to express to them that I think they just spend too much time on their phone scrolling through social media, but I don't know how to actually, I don't know how to stop them from doing that, if you know what I mean.
To a certain extent, since they're adult children, it's very, well, I wouldn't even say they're adult children, they're adults. Let's stop this. Let's look at them for what they are. In their 20s, they're adults. Some people have already had children by the time of their ages, and they're running their own homes. But I think it's really getting them to calculate, say, for example, how much time they're actually spending on the phone, because I think there are ways of actually finding out how much time you've spent on it.
iPhone does it automatically now, actually.
Then calculate how much what you could have done with that part of your life. Because if you multiply it out, you may actually find that the child is spending, 3/4 of their life on the phone. And what did they get? Because I used to tell myself, I'm watching somebody else making money. Where's my money? Do you understand? And I think you've got to talk to them logically by then as to what they're losing as opposed to what they're gaining, because they're not gaining anything.
That's true. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kemi, I see your hand up.
Hi, thank you so much for this platform. It's amazing. Really good nuggets. I wanted to ask you, what's the best way of not being so forceful, because I've got adult children as well. They like locking their doors whilst they're on their phones. And we say, no locking doors. All your doors have to be open. So we're always opening their doors, always opening their bedroom doors. Or we're going upstairs and with seats locked, we open it. We're coming downstairs with seats locked, we open it. What's the best way of sort of communicating? Obviously, we talk and talk and talk. What's the best way of communicating?
Are they paying? I'm going to be cheeky here and say, are they paying to stay in your house?
Well, of course not. No.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And I would do what I saw somebody on one of these channels.
Not take off the hinges.
Absolutely.
Oh. We keep saying we're going to take off the hinges if you don't let her.
Oh,
we don't want you locking your doors. But why?
Don't say what you won't do.
Word. I love that.
You say you are a parent that puts boundaries.
Yeah.
Mean what you say or don't say it. Our word is powerful. And if you don't do what you say you're going to do, then why do they take you seriously? Remove the door. You're not doing them any injury. Remove the door and see say that when you show me that you have learned, then I'll put the door back.
Yeah, we're just waiting for exam season to be over, and then we'll think about that. Thank you very much. Just wanted to check that we're not being OTT or helicopter parents.
Okay.
Thank
No
you.
Gee, how you doing? Long time.
Actually, you're on mute if you're speaking.
Oh, yeah. Hi, how are you? Good
Yeah.
evening, everyone. Yes,
Mm.
thank you so much. This is really, really, one of my favorites. For a very long time, I used to think that I'm different, and I don't mind being different, but sometimes it feels like, oh, Aji, your own is too much. But I've realized that over the years, I've developed this kind of very low, tolerance, for people that are constantly on their phone. So there was a time the TV license people came to our house, going around. We don't even have TV. We don't watch TV. From a very young age, I didn't raise my son to be dependent on all of these gadgets. But of course, as they grow up, things change. Of course, you want them to start using all of these things. I use iPhone, and that's one of the reasons I've been using iPhone for a while. iPhone have this where you can do settings. You can monitor what you're watching. You select times. How many minutes they can be on WhatsApp. How many minutes you can control all of this. And I'm just sharing this. Hopefully, maybe some parents here will be able to monitor that because and I like what you said again in terms of your child. In fact, it's not just your child. I know my circumstance. I'm a single mom, and I don't want to be an helicopter mom. One of the things I'm actually doing for me is learning to trust and trust God to co-parent with me. So I think I do a lot of lecturing. My son said, Mommy, most time with you is like lecturing because that's what the seed that you sow in them, that's what will, because we cannot 100% take, away. Like somebody asked, what if they go to school? All of these things do happen. So we talk, we lecture, and the implication of all of these things. And thank God for the word of God in terms of what would Jesus do in this situation.
Yeah.
My son is 14. He still drop his phone in my room every evening, 9 o'clock. We just extended it to 9 o'clock when he became a teenager, when they turned 14. So he's going to be 15 this year. And he said, Mommy, why don't you trust me to have my phone in my room? I said, it's not that I don't trust you. It is called parenting. Some years when I'm not here, you will remember this period and you will thank me for them. So what you say, this is really, I think many of our African parents needs to really listen to this and hear this. And I know a lot of households where the kids wake up in the morning, the next thing they go on gadget. They say, as long as this thing give me peace, as long as this thing give me peace, it's better for them to stay in the house on the gadget than for them to be out. So, but really, I just want to say thank you. This is really needed. May God help us. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But you see, that is the other thing that comes out of this is how you are parenting. Because if you're doing nothing with your children, they will go on the phone. But if you're finding things that you can both do together, then the phone is not relevant because they're too excited by the events, by the games you're playing, by the going places. But the tendency is within the African home, we don't do anything. I mean, I remember what was it? I remember when I was younger. Because I schooled here, so you had these 6 weeks holiday. And my parents were working, immigrant family arriving here for the first time, and you know how it is. And I could not wait to go back to school. Can you imagine a child can't wait to go back to school? Not because school was so wonderful, but I could see my friends. I could do something. Otherwise, all I could do was wait from morning till night till my parents got home. That was my schedule. We didn't have enough money at that time to do anything else. Now we're in a climate where we have this phone. So, I would have been a TV kid. So TV was our technology then. And we would sit in front of the TV. If there's nothing else to do, I'll go and watch TV. The TV brought us up. Then after that, now it's the phone. The phone is now bringing up our children. We are also creating a set of children that they are the most photographed even before they're 2, because we have parents who are now photographing the bump. They're doing all kinds of stuff photographing the bump with husband in background, partner in background, fancy clothes. Then when they finish the bump, then they're doing the first birthday. Then they're doing this, and it just goes on like that. Any little thing that the child does goes on this. And it has a name now. And it's called sharenting, which is a combination of sharing and parenting. Yeah? Sharenting. Could somebody tell me what the value or the impact of this is or is not? Aji, your hand is still up. I don't know if that was from before or now.
It must be from before. Yeah.
But would you like to try and answer that question? You know, what is the negatives of sharenting?
I don't do that anyway, so you will not see me put my all of this. I'm not this kind of so I don't have a clue.
Okay, tell me why
And
you
and
do.
because I
Why
don't
don't
have
you
a
do it?
I don't do it reason because people that are closer to me. So I shared some things on my WhatsApp profile status because for you to have my number, you're my friend. You know, you are my contact. So you see that. So what I share on my status, don't oftentimes don't go on Instagram or all of those things.
Yeah.
Simply because I don't consider people on Instagram or Facebook, all of those things as my friends. So why do I need to share those things with them? So that's
Yeah.
just one of my own principle. And so I just feel that some things are not for you know Two, the other part of it is that I don't share things about my family, especially my kids, simply because I shouldn't be making those decisions for him at this stage, even though he's 14. He has the right, maybe some years he may not necessarily want to. So, of what purpose? How is this adding value? If I write anything about my son, or maybe we go somewhere, there has to be a story around it.
Yeah.
I remember I took his picture. He was wearing Jordan, and I watched a movie recently, I think sometime last year, the story around Nike and Michael Jordan. And I did at that time, I didn't even understand what Jordan, Alice was all about Jordan. But it
Yeah.
made sense to me when I watched the movie that, the shoe made a difference simply because of the person wearing it. That's the story around. I don't know if anyone watched the story of Nike story. So I think that was one time I posted his picture, so it has to make a meaning as opposed to now, people are now just becoming all over the place. But because I don't understand it, I don't criticize them, but I just don't watch all of those things because I just feel this is me. Some people call me Mommy Gio, in that area, but I just feel like,
Okay. No
I'm
problem.
not a
And
fan.
you brought up a really valid point there, which is about the consent of your child to have such things up. And I've seen some hands suddenly go up. Is it a question, Gabrielle? Gabrielle?
Hi. Sorry,
Hi.
it's kept using Gabriel's phone.
Very, very short. Go ahead.
All right. It's a quick one, actually. I think you asked the question about what the impression is when you post something about a family member or yourself. I think for me, the danger there is that you're teaching them to get their validation from outside, from the world. You're not giving them the tools to be self-confident. I don't need to be on the social media to know that I'm the best. You can be doing great things in hiding, and the things you do will come out themselves. So whilst people are looking for influencers, if that person stops influencing anyone today, they go down. There are some people who can't manage being down, who can't manage being validated by people. So I believe if we teach children that, they're used to that. So it means life ends if they're not there, out there, people validating them.
This is lovely. Thank you. I love that.
Fantastic. Titi, very quickly.
Sorry, I think I was a bit lost. What does what does it actually mean?
All right. Sharenting basically is a combination of two words. Sharing, because you're sharing out all your information, and your parenting. So it's a thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's called sharenting. It's a new I don't know if I can say that it's actually new because it's probably been out there a long time. And if you put it into the internet, you'll see a whole ream of people talking about it in so many ways. And declaring that it's not the greatest thing to do because a lot of parents have, shared so much about their children without actually thinking, does my child want their privacy put out there in that way. You may want to put your private parts out there, but not your child. And in actual fact, I have a video which, Tamar, you have it. I hope that I can play that. I'm just kind of looking at the time, but there is always so much to cover in these sessions, but I just want to hit home on something. So let's play that video, then I'll come back and talk some more. Tamar, whilst you're
Yes, I'm going to play it now. Yeah, I'm going to play it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Please, everyone, pay close attention to this. It is a bit traumatic in some ways, this information that's going to come through in this video. Keep going, Tamar, anytime you're ready.
Okay.
I'm just talking whilst you're getting it on, and then I'll stop. And then we will talk a little bit more. I decided that if I can't give too much information to you today because of the time, let me get this.
Time up. Is all okay?
Yes, I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's up now. I'm gonna play.
Okay, all right, great.
Hey Mom, hey Dad. It's me, Ella. Well, a digital version of me. Just a bit older. Amazing what technology can do these days, isn't it? All you need are a couple of pictures, like the ones you share on social media, where they can be taken and used by everybody. I know, for you these pictures are just memories, but for others, they are data. And for me, maybe the beginning of a horrible future. A future where my identity can be stolen just like that. Where I can go to prison for things that I would never do. Imagine my credit score being destroyed, Dad. Or my voice copied to scam you, Mom. Mom, I'm in trouble. I need you to send me money, please. I don't want to become a meme, humiliated by everyone at school.
Kill yourself, you fucking loser.
And I certainly don't want this. What you share online is like a digital footprint that will follow me around for the rest of my life. I'm telling you this because I know you love me and would never do anything to harm me. So please, Mom, please, Dad, protect my virtual privacy.
Okay.
Can I say something?
I remember when I first saw that, I kind of was stunned. But it's amazing what can be done these days. And this is in 2024.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it might be like in 2034 or something like this?
Yeah.
It's just going exponentially. It's just getting worse and worse. So please, don't ever think that anything you do, no. Don't do it. Don't start it. Don't encourage it in your children. All this TikToking that they're doing and all that, you just don't know where it may land. And a lot of people, I had some figures, if I could find where I've written it down, where they're saying that in the future, by 2030, 2/3 of identity fraud will take place, and there will be about 7 million incidents and theft of at least $800,000 at the time where I got these figures. But it's all there. Before a child is 5, 15,000 pictures are already online. By the time they're age 2, they may already be online with various things. So please be mindful. If you need to share, do it in a smarter way. Avoid pictures that show your child in a state of undress. In fact, isn't it so strange to all of you that people who are in the media, this Jay-Z and the rest of them,
you don't see their children.
You don't see their children.
Yeah. Yes.
So many of them. I mean, even Michael Jackson was covering the face of their child. When I did finally see, the daughter as an adult, I didn't recognize her because I'd never seen her as a child. So please be careful. So avoid pictures of your children. Don't share anything that would make them be recognized, the address, any of their personal details, where you live. I mean, sometimes even taking a picture, standing in the front of your house can tell somebody where you live, especially if they have the location, the area. It could be a problem. Don't tell people your number. And these are the things that when you first hand a child, you go through that routine of explaining what that phone can do, explaining that whatever they put on the internet stays on the internet. It doesn't rub off, because even if you go back now after today's session and you pull everything down, you don't know who has copied it. You don't know who has downloaded. You don't know who has shared it. I mean, we keep looking for this dopamine hit. Oh, today I got 5 hits. Oh, today I got 20 likes. Oh, wait, my God, I'm viral. No. Don't make your child viral. Don't use it for money in that way. Chizzy says, posting photos with your children's school uniform logo or in front of your car showing the plate. Absolutely, Chizzy. Thank you. Those are all examples. I know they're proud moments for us. Take the picture, keep it to yourself. Or you have a very exclusive set of people who you actually show or share that picture with on a set platform. Nobody else can be admitted. You are in control of it. And you also warn every single person on that thread. So be it uncle, auntie, grandparents that are so proud too, brothers and sisters, nobody share this. The worst you can do is you can show it to somebody, but you cannot send it. Do not send on. In fact, that sharing opportunity that many people have taken, for granted, because I mean, I am, I get things and I just share, unless because it seemed funny at the time or something. Because of where I work, I don't share things on children, but information and things like that, I do share. But it's all of these things, they're clamping down on them legally as to how much you can share. So you need to be cautious. Today, I had to ask somebody who we had asked them to send in some comments. Can I share this on social media? And until I got a written response from them to say, yes, please, you can go ahead, do whatever you need to do if it promotes your work. That was the only time I could utilize that information. And, wherever you work, you need to be able to do that as well, and to take that into mind. You must be careful. Even ask your children, can I share this with XYZ? And let them say yes or no, because in years to come, They will ask you, Mommy, why did you share me looking that stupid or whatever? You thought it was cute. To them, it's a total embarrassment now when they become Prime Minister of England. And that is what they show him in his, whatever. People know how to take things, digitalize it, make it look stupid, and throw it back out there. And we've come to a point where we trust whatever is online. It's almost like a book. We take it on board. This is why so much fact checking has been asked of, but not everybody fact checks. I get things and I look at it and I say, this doesn't seem quite right. I go in and I check because of who I am. But other people don't. They just swing it back out there, bat it to the next person or the next 500 people, because we are all now editors without actually editing anything. So please be very, very cautious about that. I want to talk a little bit, I'm looking at the time, about grooming. I want to place that into this discussion as well, because those are the two things. And that is, grooming. Most abuse takes place in private messaging. First of all, what normally happens where grooming takes place is that, 1 second for me, basically the definition, or you could say, of grooming is intentionally befriend, where an abuser intentionally befriends a child with the purpose of establishing an emotional connection with the child so that they can abuse and exploit them. The child may, once they're abused, feel shame, guilt, and they wrongly blame themselves for things. So basically, in a sense, if I was a man and I'm wanting to abuse a young girl, then what I may say to her is, how do I know that you really are my friend? You've got to do something to prove that friendship. And what happens is that initially, maybe I just liked one or two things that she put out on TikTok or the Instagram or Snapchat or something. And she feels good because this person liked it. And then I start talking to her. Oh, could you send me some more pictures? Oh, that was a really good one. Oh, can I have your phone number so I can talk to you about where you went in that Snapchat or something? And she feels, oh, this is my friend. And I keep saying to people, just because this person is online with you does not make them your friend. And please clarify to your children, because a lot of them are impressionable. A lot of them will think that, oh, because somebody's talking to them nicely, oh, because somebody likes their post, they're my friend. They like me. And especially if your child, hasn't yet established their own confidence in themselves or something, that is big. Or maybe you yourself as a parent, you're not actually talking to your child. You don't have any communications with them. They are looking somewhere for somebody to love them, somebody to like them, somebody to tell them how wonderful they are. We all love it when somebody tells us how great we are. And there are too many people that will fulfill that. They will talk to them. They will establish what's going on in the life of that child and realize that, oh, she might slip out one day. Oh, my mommy won't like this. And then they'll say, oh, what about your dad? Oh, he's not there. He's never there. They've got him for so one parent family, or father in and out, or 2, 3, or no consistency here, or she's home alone, between X and Y before mommy gets back from work. These things drop out of a child's mouth without them thinking, because they have no guile. They don't know that this information is going to be used badly. And this is where all this information then becomes cyber information that can be used to bully your child, that can be used to threaten your child, that can be used to put your child into places that they shouldn't be placed. So they now go on to WhatsApp and start talking. We're friends now. I love you, is what your gentleman will be saying. I love you. I really respect you. But, you know, you've got to prove that, you know, you're worthy of me in a sense, off your top. And that's the beginning. And you see, the thing is that once they've done one thing that's a little bit edgy, they're caught. Oh, I now have a picture of you, so you might as well show me the rest of it. And it goes on. This is what can be happening to your child. And you won't know because they are behind that closed door. Or it's happening before you get home. Or you are not asking the questions because you haven't created a safe space where your child can come to you and say, Mommy, Daddy, look what happened today. I know it's wrong, but I feel whatever. So creating a safe space and being a safe person for your child to communicate things that ordinarily, of course, you're going to be annoyed about. But the thing is to hold your anger and be understanding and begin to say, okay, what can I do better in this situation? How can I assist my child out of it? Who do I report to? What can we do? These are the things you need to look at. When you're looking at your child who's being radicalized because new ideas are coming into his head, you've got to look at what's going on. What were the changes? Did you even see the changes before it got to the point where your child is now entering a bus and a train to get to X position to get themselves to whatever country, as we have already seen with the Begum case? So it's not an impossible thing to happen. I'm just pulling out these things, you know, so that you can see. You know, it's not illegal to form networks on social media. And this is what people do. And of course, people will join in. But then they need to then move your child to an underground network, which is illegal, because now they're going to use that child for things that they shouldn't be doing and put your child's life, and I mean life, in jeopardy, either in losing it or not being the child that you hoped for. Because now they can, in that stress, suffer from mental illness, depression. They may even resort to cutting themselves. They may resort to suicide. All these things start to come out because of where the child finds himself and seeing no way out. And you've got to stand in the gap for your child. So you need to be aware of what's happening. You need to be able to monitor and see changes in the way that your child behaves. This thing of grooming is growing exponentially. Every year, 80%. It's just going out of sight. And every police force is complaining about it and saying, look what's happening here. So please let us be very, very aware. Don't, think you can't do something about it, but you need to talk to your children. You need to have that conversation. It's not an angry conversation. It's a conversation of trying to get them to understand the why and what can happen. There was, the incredible thing is that it can happen with children so young. Recently, I heard a case where this was on Snapchat. A young boy revealed himself on Snapchat with 3 other friends. I don't know whether they all did the same thing, but he was the one that was caught. With and really, Snapchat is one of these things that you put some picture up or whatever, and it goes after a while. It disappears. You can't find it. So he's thinking, oh, it's gone. But they've downloaded it. Having downloaded it, it was found by one of the parents who was monitoring the phone of their child and said, what's going on here? The child who did it was caught, and it became a police matter. Please warn your children. Please warn yourselves, because if any of you are into this kind of thing, it's going to be an issue. It's like when I say to people, okay, fine, you haven't given a phone to your child, but what do you sometimes do? You give your phone to your child to play with. And of course, it's your phone. It has no limitations on it. And so what tends to happen is you may slip into places where maybe you shouldn't go. or it comes up because of algorithms. You have no control. Because this algorithm thing shocked me one day when I'm sitting down there and I knew I had a headache. And it's a simple thing, but and I don't know, I was looking into various tablets for headache because I didn't want to take the usual ones, and I wanted to see what was in them. Suddenly, 3, 4, 5 days later, headache has gone, but I keep on seeing things on headache tablets, all kinds of medication coming through. I didn't understand algorithms at that time. This is what I was saying to you earlier on. How much you understand about this phone? I've had to learn on the hop. So I'm saying all this. I say, these things are very magical. How did they know I have a headache? I'm talking like a child now, like an old woman. Only to discover and realize, even when people were telling me algorithm, I was behaving like my 80-year-old mother would have behaved. The algorithm. They said something about algorithm. That is how my and true. I was behaving. I was even talking to myself about it, like, hey, you're not really with it, But I soon learned. I soon caught up. And so I'm saying to you that don't give your phone. If you're going to give it to your 3-year-old because, you're making too much noise, just play with it while I can just talk to my friend here. Please change the setting. Change the setting to that of a child, and then you can give it. Because then all that rubbish will be cut out and they just use it for their game or whatever. Because you can be sure when they get bored of the game, they will travel on your phone looking for other things to amuse themselves. So be ahead of the game. So it is important that you always have constant conversations with your child so that they're not caught up in things that you would not want them to be caught up in. Radicalization. Your child can be radicalized, which means that you will see changes in their behavior. So that means you as a parent need to be aware of what's happening to your child on a daily, minute by minute basis. Not because you're going to become a helicopter parent, as we've mentioned previously, but because you want to be aware. You want to be in at the very beginning. You find your child wanting to isolate themselves more. Their usual behavior changes. This is a child that was very outgoing, very friendly. Suddenly, he doesn't want to know. He's speaking in words that don't match with his basic knowledge or the person that you knew. It's changed. He's now becoming, very dogmatic about things. He's agitated, when he's hearing some of your views and the views he used to hold, perhaps. Or you're saying things about things that are in the media or whatever that are in conflict with what he is being taught elsewhere. He has resentment and anger about things. You need to start, saying, hold on, what's going on? When he comes home from school, maybe he just runs up to his room, shuts that door, and he doesn't want to come down. His behavior has radically changed. His views have radically changed, and they're nothing to do with you anymore. It's time, long before then, to have a conversation. If that has already happened, you better get in there and have that conversation. Take that phone away. I mean, I've been asked in the past, am I allowed to take the phone? I said, well, when did your child start paying for the line? Is he working? Is he paying for that phone bill that keeps coming in on his phone? Have you even sat down and gone through your own card to see all the games he's picking up on? Why is he doing so much online now? We buy phones for our children and then we forget. It's a bit like what do they call it now? A contract for the gym. We forget it. Don't forget it where your child is concerned. Be on the ball. What did they buy? Whose card did they use? Why is he on that? I've also got, and I think Tamar will send it out to all of you, a list of parenting controls that you can actually put on your phone if if they're of that age. I have about 6 or 7 of them there, and I think she'll send them out to you. And they have a little explanation as to what they do, but you can go back online and double check which one suits you. I hope that those of you who have young enough children have got those parental controls. You will also say to me that your children will hack through whatever you put there and they'll get back in. Well, when they're hacking through, I remember that recently a lady who had some control on her child's phone, which said that after 8 o'clock, the phone dies and she can't use it. But the child was trying to change the setting so that she could have more than 8 o'clock on it. And the setting warned the parent about it. And so the parent then, because the child was with her mother, so phoned the mother and said, oh, yeah, go and get that phone back from that child so that she doesn't do anything about it. Thank you very much, Tamar. If you all look on the chat, you can see that she has put it up there. So maybe you might want to just copy it down if you're not aware of it or have a read. Thank you very much for that assistance. So I'm open for questions right now. I think there's about 1 or 2 minutes left. And I hope that you've all gained something from today's session. I would have liked to have gone through some of the apps. And the other thing is that you should look at your children's conversations on their texting, because in there you will see acronyms that they use. And I haven't got the time today, but I would send you back into the internet and ask for acronyms used by teenagers, and you'll be surprised. Like, for example, POS, parent over shoulder. Why would my child be saying POS? What are they hiding? LH6, let's have sex. I told you I'd mention sex at some point. KYS, kill yourself. Why should somebody be telling me to kill my child to kill itself? 99, parents are gone. WTTP, want to trade photos? Your child should not be taking those photos. What type of photos? Be interested. It's not just about producing the child so that everybody can say, praise the Lord is good. It's about seeing the journey to the end, bringing up an adult that you can trust to be able to be another adult for their children to come. This is a generational job, creating the next generation. That is our job. So it is important that we do not expose our children to exploitation on the net, sexting, cyber situation, bullying, that kind of thing. We shouldn't allow our children to become over-sexualized online, pornography. Those are the biggest things that can happen to our children online. So always talk to your children about their activities, set boundaries, keep up to date with technology, keep up to date with trends. This is how this young boy ended up in hospital, and they agreed to remove him from it and let him pass. I think it was Archie. I think you all heard the case. The parents went to the highest courts to say, no, we don't want his machine to be turned off. He's the one that, there was a trend to strangle yourself with a cord and then let it go. You would faint, but then you would come back. And he was telling his parents, I can come back, faint and come back. And they didn't really pay attention to the words. So please, computer devices should be kept in a place where you can see it. Like Aji does, 8 o'clock cutoff point. As you grow, we may increase it. We may do some tests to see if we can really trust you. Why do I trust you? We need to tell them. Use parental controls, which I've actually put out there for you. Ensure your child is aware that not everyone who is on the internet is their friend. And also you should know what to do when things do go wrong, as they may. But in Jesus' name, they will not for you. having attended this session today, you will look out for the issue. So if there's any questions, please go ahead. If there's any time for that. I hope that we've been able to cover some things we haven't been able to once again in detail, but I just chose two things, which was the grooming aspect and the sharing, what's that? What did I say? Sharenting.
Sharenting. That's a new one. Aji wanted to say something.
Aji,
Hi, okay. Yes. Listening to you, Kanin, this really, breaks my heart. Because in as much as I said I have this in place, I have that in place, the whole world is so scary. A friend of mine just moved home a couple of months ago, just early in the year, and she moved home simply because she used to be a guardian to a young boy, and his teenager. Parents live in Nigeria, and the boy came here to school, and they were all inside, but they noticed that the boy was always indoors anyway, in the room by himself. Anyway, fast forward the story, she got a call from the police and asked to come and identify this individual. Anyway, the boy went to kill himself, went to the train station just in Leicester here. I don't know if anybody knows the story. And it's so sad in the sense that I feel really sad for the parents. This is a young boy, in uni. Why would the boy decide to commit suicide? I heard that, while they're scrolling through the phones, there's all sorts of, I'm still, I don't understand all of this bullying. Sometimes I call everything bullying. Some parents say, Aji, you don't know all these things. Everything is not bullying. But I don't like when people use unkind words generally. I just call off those things bullying. So I think this guy has really been exposed to all of these things, and perhaps it's really affected his low self-esteem. I don't know. But I mean, when I hear all of these things, how another one, somebody posted on Facebook, a friend of a friend, shared the friend's post. One of the boys, jumped from the flat downstairs, kill himself. Why will a young boy do things like this? So it's really my question again. So that's my reflection in terms of what you're saying and how really the scary world. But my question again is, some people, they've not started. I think sometimes some of the parents that I know that indulge their kids into some of these things, what I hear from them is this kind of subtle fear to say, you know what, I don't want it to be too hard on my child, and I don't want to lose them because they will not be close to you. So I don't know if anyone, or maybe we have a friend of a friend, somebody here, if people have not been doing this kind of thing with their kids, like in my case, Alice is used to, okay, go and drop your phone, go and drop your phone. Anyone that comes to spend the night or weekend, that's the tradition in my house. So it's fine. But some people, if they've not been doing that, it is strange. And that way, how would you suggest they go about this thing in terms of, introducing these new things or these new rules or whatever in their homes without really, damaging the relationships between them?
Well, I think it's a softly approach in that situation, because you've already enabled the child to do things that you are now trying to say, no, we're not having it anymore. But you can't just say, no, we're not having it. You've got to say, well, look, we're going to try a new way. You've got to have a negotiation. You have to have a discussion. That's all I can say as to how it's going to happen. You've just got to talk to your child and say why. Maybe tell them about the things that you've just shared with us and that you're concerned, or something to that effect. I can't give you a definite, this is the best way and this is the only way. There may be other people in this thread that have gone through that. But I think indulging a child to the extent that you are afraid to parent is not good either.
So I think, one of the things I recommend also is that I think there's a movie on Netflix that talks about the menace of social media. I've forgotten the name. I mean, when I find it, I'll send it to the group. I sat down with my children before to watch it, because even in that movie, you see people that they've gone to interview Mark Zuckerberg and some of these other guys who are actually big tech moguls, and they say their children are not even on social media, like you said earlier. And so I was saying to my children, I said, look, watch it. Why would their own children not be on social media if it's such a good thing? So I think I would recommend that such a person find instead of becoming a preacher, does that make sense? Because the ball already sailed. Find a platform or a movie or something that can communicate the same message where you sit down together and just watch it. And let's say at the end of the day, you say, hey, what do you learn from that? What do you think you can pick up from that? I think that it foster the conversation. That'll be my recommendation. That can be explored.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of approaching it. It's very much like all these companies that produce cigarettes, they produce vape, they produce everything that is harmful to you, but they don't take it themselves. It's like the drug addict doesn't take drugs. So the drug salesman doesn't take drugs. Do you not ask why? They never make the mistake.
Yeah.
The real ones.
Yeah.
Never make the mistake. It's the people down below that say, oh, let's try it for one time, and then they're hooked for life because you just don't know what's going to happen to you. Actually, I still see your hand up. Hi, Aji.
Sorry, it's a legacy hand now.
Okay. I hope your question was answered in some ways. It's a difficult one, but I think the only
yeah, absolutely
is to have that discussion, and that discussion has to start now. And usually, as you say, using the very medium that they run to is probably a good way, and that is the internet. There's so much on there, warning from various things. And it's also giving the child another direction. Why does everything have to come off the phone? And in fact, look at your own addiction to the phone, and you'll find that many of you are addicted. Have you even tried saying to yourself, well, look, you know what? When I get up this morning, I'm not going to look to see how many WhatsApp messages I got. I'm not going to look at how many Facebook people liked my post from yesterday. Do you understand? I've had times when I first went onto Facebook, I didn't understand what was up there. I didn't understand what was going on. And then I started to see this liking business. So yes, I said, they've liked my posts, 5 of them today. Oh, that's nice. Then I saw other people with 100 or 300. And I'm like, no, I need more. It started to become like that until I had to draw myself back and say, what's going on? I'm more than this. And so each of us here is guilty of some sort of, limitation. I call that a limitation on your life. And you've got to sort of say to yourself, have I got a child that is fully whole? A child that understands him or herself, a child that doesn't need affirmation from anybody else but me. As a parent, I give them the affirmation. I make them understand that they have all that they have, that nobody outside can give them the true affirmation. Because basically, they are doing it because they have got something to gain. I am doing it because this is my child and I'm protecting them. Nobody else can protect them like I do. Aji, just taking up something that you said very fleetingly about people staying overnight. We at Africa tend to say to people, do not have your child going to anybody's house and doing a sleepover. But that's another conversation, because you never know who is in that house that day. And you don't know, even if you say to me, I know my brother, I know my sister, I know my uncle. Don't try it. Because very often it is people that you know that are the perpetrators of some harm. And I'm not saying in your case, but I'm just saying, be cautious. I have a lot of information and experience of these things. So I'm talking from that point, that perspective.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ike. I think we ran out of time. I think we would like you to come back at some point, talk about county lines, which is about the whole.
Yes, I didn't even get to talk there.
I think I would like us to talk about at some point. Maybe I think we have implication of AI next month, which I think Titi is going to be hosting a session here about AI and all that, because I think I really want us to talk about artificial intelligence in the church, let people know what's going on. So I think we're going to have next session there. Yeah, I think Titi is going to be anchoring that. So for those of you that show up today, please do make it next month as well. We run this thing once a month till we talk about contemporary issues. So Titi is going to be anchoring the one for next month on AI. So maybe on the back of that, maybe 2 months or 3 months from now, we'll try and ask you to come back, please, to talk about county lines. I'm really keen about this whole drug stuff, so that we can also learn 1 or 2 things about that.
In actual fact, when we do the county lines, I'll invite another one of my colleagues who specializes in that area to join me for that discussion, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think we also try to announce it so that a lot more people can join and benefit from it. So I just want to say thank you very much. I think one of the things I want to say is that I'm not sure whether the logical next step would be to have some sort of, I would love to have some sort of workshop, beyond just this kind of talking, right? Some sort of workshop. I think we can arrange that later. We need to get interest from the church and the network to see what that's something that they would like. But I think it would be nice to have sort of parent kind of workshop where we can be in, like, it doesn't have to be, it could be online. It have to be in, like, breakout session, to have some tools that we can just do together as a team. To just say, because somebody can hear all of this and say, okay, what next? What am I going to do? You understand? I don't want people to realize that, oh man, I messed up. Okay, but what can I do? And there's a lot of stuff that's been shared tonight that I would like us to have some sort of breakout session. But I will announce it in church, or announce it in the WhatsApp group as well, and see if people are interested. Then we can arrange to have some sort of hands-on, maybe half a day kind of online boot camp, or kind of breakout session where parents come in and we work as a family community to just help one another, so that we can help our children.
One of the issues that we rarely understand or talk about is trauma, and how that impacts on your ability to parent, or your parenting style, without you even knowing. And then it's like trauma upon trauma on your child too. So that's a deep one, but something to look at in time.
No problem. I think when I until my children became teenagers, there's some things I took for granted, but as it turned to teenagers, I think there's some learning and unlearning that I have to learn as well as we go along, but for those whose children are still like maybe in the pre-teens, they have massive opportunity as well to at least to do something about it, so we can all learn from one another, Okay, so thank you very, very much. So yeah, sorry, you want to say something?
I was just going to add that those of you who have adult children will be having a different conversation, because now you should be able to discuss like equals, and discuss from the perspective that they too are in a position to be where you are right now, which is they will have children. And this case of, how do you think your behavior is going to impact on them? If you're doing your phone business all the time, like I'm seeing right now, how are you going to get your child to study or to do the things that they should do? It's very important that they understand that. And maybe when they're looking at themselves in that way, they will change their perspective as well, and see that they've got to do something differently for their children.
I just got one last question, okay, because I know I slightly ran out of time. Yeah, but how do we present information to children without scaring them, right? Because also the other thing, one of the things I'm kind of careful about is to present a world that is totally fatalistic, So I don't want my children going to school, looking behind their back and thinking, oh, something's going to happen. Again, that's like an atmosphere of fear, right? So what, in your experience, what would be the best way to approach some of these concerns that we know we all have as parents, right, to our children, in a way that they will not leave our presence thinking the world is coming to an end? Does that make sense? Because there are very good people in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we shouldn't be afraid ourselves. Because I think sometimes when we are talking to them, we're talking to them as if we are scared. And it's a terrible word. And you know, the way you deliver the message itself is like a bogeyman. I tell you something that may sound really weird, but my parents didn't have any problems in telling me that my father didn't have any problems in telling me that the world was bad. There was a time when I was growing up many, many years ago, and we had the Moors murders taking place, where children were disappearing and then being found dead. My father went to the trouble of, when the papers came out and they listed all these children and they put their pictures, he cut it out. He put it on a card, a harder piece of paper, sellotaped it then, and then showed it to me. And he said, "You see these children? They're gone. You mustn't talk to strangers. You mustn't do this. You mustn't do that." And it was scary, but it was the truth. But then when I was growing up, we were living in a smaller village. My walking distance to my school was about no more than 1,000 yards. I could see the school from the end of my road. My doctor's appointments were nearby. Everything was within like a mile radius, even my church at the time. But now the world has expanded to the point of World Wide Web. And it is a web, and it is a reality. And although I don't want you to, as I understand that need to keep your children safe and in this cotton-filled place, but you need to give them a sense of what is right. Please don't give your information out, because mommy, daddy won't like that. Somebody could come to the house that we don't know. In fact, everybody that's on the thing you're talking to, have you seen them? Do you know them? So it's how you talk to them. You talk to them age appropriately.
Okay.
But don't give your fear to them. And then do your job as well and be there, monitoring from afar, looking at their phones, seeing things, detecting when they're changing in front of you. And which is not just a change of growth, but a change because the outside is getting in. And then allaying any fears that they may have. The job is never done as a parent. It's one of the hardest jobs to do. And I credit all of you for what you're doing so far.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So I think we're out of time. So thank you so much for coming around here today and blessing us with your gifts. I just want to say a word of prayer for you, and then we'll be looking forward to having the AI conversation next month. So for those who are leaving, please do invite some other people to come and join us next month. So Father Allah, I pray for your daughter. I just want to thank you for the gift that you have made her, the ability to be able to share this experiences and some of this knowledge that she's got with us. I pray for every one of us as well that we will be doers, implementers of this truth that we have learned. Help us, Almighty God, as a family to grow in the grace, to grow in the knowledge, to be able to do the right thing at the right time. I pray, Almighty God, for Ekenem that you expand that, beyond our widest imagination in the name of Jesus, and let what she does, Almighty God, become much more fruitful in Jesus' name. Lord, we thank you, and Lord, we bless you. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. Amen. Maravike, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. You're blessed. See you next month. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.